Hi folks, and welcome back. We're in the kitchen today. I just wanted to do a quick video of what we do with our leftover fruit that we make wine with. So in the pan here I have a load of green tomatoes. We were given pails and pails of green tomatoes by the neighbours, and we kind of got a bit fed up of fried green tomatoes and green tomato soup. So green tomato wine is actually very, very nice and something we used to make quite regularly. So I also added some grapes that we also received from a friend. So both those things were completely free. So when the winemaking was over and we took the fruit off the wine, which I'll just spin you around, which is over here, just down there, that's now in the demijohn. We were left with the grapes and the bits of tomatoes from the initial fermenting. So I boiled all of that down yesterday, and now it's cold, so I'm just going to start putting it through the jelly bag. But I wanted to explain that sometimes putting the fruit through the jelly bags just takes hours and hours and hours, and sometimes you just don't have that time. So as a time-saving venture, I just really put it through a strainer first, which I shall just do right now. I'll just get the first one going through. You'll have to excuse the camera work, guys. I'm kind of one-handed here. So we just put it through the strainer, and that just captures the main bits that we get. I'll just do another one, just for an example. And then obviously we just lift that up and all the liquid comes out of the bottom there, and we're left with the fruit, which I will just throw into that one. Now then, it's easier to put through our jelly bag without trying to spill it all over the place. And we get a few little pieces that go in there, but it doesn't really make much difference. Anyway, I'll repeat that process until we're all done, and I will get back to you. Okay folks, we have pretty much strained all of the liquid through. We just have one jelly bag's worth of liquid that's, as you can see, dripping very slow. Although we did take off the main bulk of the fruit, you still get a lot of grit from the grapes in here, so that will take a little while. So I just really wanted to go over that these green tomatoes and grapes that were absolutely free have not only made a green tomato and grape wine, but they also have made or will make a jelly, and they also will serve a third purpose, which is they will go in our compost trench in our garden, which I will show you shortly. So here we are outside in the garden, and we're at the compost trench, and as you can see there's three, if you can see, 1, 2, 3 compost trenches already complete, and Elijah's actually started to plant garlic in between the rows. So what we actually do is we dig a trench, quite simple, in the ground, and we do this at this time of year because the compost in the compost heap tends not to break down very quickly. And so all we actually do, and as you can see there is some compost already in here, anything that we can't use or can't eat, that can't go on the ordinary compost, we just throw in the compost trench, as you can see. So all the grapes, all the green tomatoes, they're all in there. And then what we do is we put a layer of soil over the top of that, and we carry on the process until it reaches ground level. And then we fill it in so it looks like a potato mound, I suppose, as you can see there. And then that will be good to plant in the spring. It's a really good thing to do in areas that are new to the garden. I have a couple up there, but the idea is we're just putting nutrients in the ground. We have a no-dig garden, and it's just a really good way of starting to put nutrients and build layers of nutrients up in the garden. And we find it works really, really well. Just give you a little pan round. It's a bit wet out here today. I will do a video on compost drenching a little bit more in depth at a later date, so keep an eye out for that. Bye for now. So the jelly has completely gone through now in the pan. So the next stage is we're going to turn on the heat. We have to get this boiling. Not to the point where it's boiling all over the cooker though, because that would be quite the mess. I have a little bit left in the jelly bag that's dripping through slowly, so I will add that in later on. Now, other people use the method, you have the same amount of sugar as you do liquid. So if you had 8 cups of liquid, you would use 8 cups of sugar. Well, I don't do that because I'm not other people and I do it different, and we don't like things too sweet in this house. So I have roughly 4 cups of sugar here, and I'm pretty confident that I will need a little bit more, but I will taste it when this volume is reduced by half. So we just pour all of the sugar in the jelly. And as you can see now, it's actually quite full. And we'll take Spoonzilla and stir that around. And we just watch this now until it comes up to a boil. And we'll let this reduce right down, probably to this much in the bottom of the pan, and then we have to keep a very close eye on it because it will be getting to the sheeting stage, and I will show you when we're at that point. So here we are at the right stage where we want to think about getting our jelly in the jars. And as explained yesterday, there's a couple of things that we can see happening here, and one of the first things is, as you can see, it's actually bubbling really rapidly, and no matter how much I stir that, it is not going down. The bubbles are not going anywhere. That's one sign that your jam or your jelly is ready to go. The second way you can tell, and I don't know how close you can see, but you can see the drips are slow and they start to form like a sheet. It's a little hard for you to see. Very slow drips, and they form almost like a skin on the end of the spoon. And I'm steaming you all up there. So we're ready to go with the jar. So I have my lids and my rims in there, all sterilised in some hot water. Never let them boil, they just have to be nice and hot. And over here in my water bath canner I have my jars. The light up there is just shining on them. They've been sterilised in the hot water. Now with jams and jellies and some fruit and vegetables, you can water bath can them. And with a lot of other stuff you need to pressure can them, but that's another video for another day. So I will get a couple of jars out and I'll be right back. So I have my jars ready. I generally try and do them 2 jars at a time, and as soon as the 2 jars are done with their lids on, they'll go back in the water bath can and we repeat the process. So it's quite simple. We just really ladle the hot jelly out of the jelly pan and put it through a funnel, and what we're looking for is to have about 1 inch of head space in the jar, which is generally up to the first line that you can see. Probably another ladle maybe going in there. Nope, just a little bit more, and that allows the jelly to not blow the lid off while you are pressure canning. So as you can see, that one is there, and actually I will put a little bit more in there because we're on a slight slant. Our house is not straight. So about there I would say is good. So you can just see there. So we pop the funnel into the next jar ready, and we take a lid on the jar, and we take the screw band on the jar, and we will tighten that just to thumb tight. You don't want to over tighten those, and we use our special tongs to lift them up. Before I had these, I had some disasters in the kitchen where I dropped jars, smashed jars, and all we do is we place it in the, carefully, back in the water canner. Careful not to drop it, we don't want smashed jars. And we repeat the process until all the jelly is gone and all our jars are in the water canner, and when we're at that stage I'll get back to you. So this is our last jar that I've done, and what I failed to mention previously was always make sure that you wipe around the rim of the jar, and that's so if there's any residue or any jam drips around the jar, you're not going to risk it not sealing properly. You want to make sure that your jam or your jelly or whatever you're making seals properly. So now that that's done, this is the last one, we just tighten him, it's very hot, to thumb tight, and then this one's going to go back in the jar, in the canner, sorry. So as you can see, all the ones are in there, and we have 6 jars in there. Now we turn the heat up on the stove to maximum, and we put the lid, excuse me, back on, and when this comes to a boil we time 10 minutes. It needs 10 minutes in the water bath canner, and then we come in and turn it all off. You can take the jars straight out or you can let them cool down a little bit. So they're in there, and we did have a little bit of very hot jelly left, which I'll just pour in an unsterilised jar because that will get used up. So after 10 minutes and I've taken the jars out, I will see the finished product, and so will you. There is the finished product, folks. 6 jars of tomato and grape jelly, and as mentioned earlier in the video, the tomatoes and the grapes were free, and prior to becoming jelly they had made wine, so there was 2 uses, and then the third, which the leftover bits of tomato and grapes went into the compost trench, which you saw in the video. So not bad really, considering it was waste to somebody that we took on and we utilised that, which is what we like to do here. So thank you for watching. I hope you found it interesting. I just want to say a quick sorry for the quality of the video. I'm new to this and I'm still working on it, so bear with me, and I will see you soon.